Walk through any residential street in Tokyo at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, and you will notice something that seems impossible. The sidewalks are spotless. No cigarette butts scattered near building entrances. No plastic bags caught in tree branches. No food wrappers collecting in corners. This is not the result of an army of street cleaners working through the night. In fact, public trash bins are rare in Japan. You might walk for 20 minutes without seeing a single one. Yet the streets remain cleaner than cities with bins on every corner and hefty fines for littering. How does a nation of 125 million people maintain this level of cleanliness without the strict enforcement that other countries rely on? The answer reveals something profound about how behavior actually changes and why rules alone rarely create the results we want. The standard approach to keeping public spaces clean follows a simple logic. Make rules, post signs, hire enforcers, issue fines. Most major cities have laws against littering, with penalties ranging from $50 to several $1,000s. The assumption is straightforward. If the punishment is severe enough, people will comply. But travel to cities with the strictest anti-littering laws, and you will still find trash on the ground. The presence of rules does not guarantee clean streets. Something else must be at work in Japan. The foundation was built decades ago, but not through legislation. In 1953, Japan introduced a practice called osoji jikin into schools. Cleaning time. Every day, for 15 minutes, students clean their classrooms, hallways, and bathrooms. Not janitors. The students themselves. 6-year-olds sweep floors. 10-year-olds scrub toilets. 15-year-olds mop hallways. This continues through all 12 years of compulsory education. By the time a Japanese person reaches adulthood, they have spent approximately 900 hours cleaning shared spaces. This is not taught as punishment or character building. It is presented simply as normal. The classroom belongs to everyone who uses it. Therefore, everyone who uses it maintains it. The logic is made visible through action, repeated daily until it becomes automatic. A child who spends 12 years cleaning their classroom learns something that cannot be taught through lectures. They learn that spaces they use are their responsibility, regardless of whose job it officially is to maintain them. This creates an internal reference point. When a Japanese adult walks down a street eating a snack, they finish and find themselves holding a wrapper with no trash bin in sight. At this moment, a choice appears. In our experience, spaces are maintained by the people who use them. The absence of a bin does not erase responsibility. It simply means carrying the wrapper until a bin appears, or more commonly, taking it home. This is not virtue or superior morality. This is learned behavior, internalized through thousands of repetitions during childhood. The education system reinforces this in another way. Japanese schools rarely employ janitors for basic cleaning. The maintenance of the building is distributed among the students who occupy it. A bathroom stays clean, not because someone is paid to clean it, but because the students who use it clean it themselves every day. When you are responsible for cleaning a bathroom, your relationship to that bathroom changes. You notice when the floor gets wet. You wipe up spills immediately because you know you will be the one cleaning them later. Prevention becomes easier than correction. This principle extends beyond schools. Many Japanese companies maintain the same practice. Employees clean their own workspaces. Office workers tidy meeting rooms after use. Factory workers clean their stations at the end of each shift. The logic remains consistent. The people who use a space are responsible for its condition. This is not enforced through surveillance or penalties. It is simply expected in the same way that arriving on time is expected. The contrast becomes visible when you observe how space is treated. In cities where cleaning is entirely outsourced to professionals, a different relationship forms. The public space becomes someone else's responsibility. A person drops a wrapper on the ground, knowing that a cleaner will remove it. The connection between action and consequence is severed. Someone else handles the mess. This is not laziness or malice. This is rational behavior within a system that separates use from maintenance. Japan structured its system differently. By making children responsible for cleaning their own schools, it created a generation of adults who do not mentally separate using a space from maintaining it. The two are connected. This connection is reinforced daily for 12 years, which is long enough to become unconscious. An adult who grew up cleaning their classroom does not need to think about taking trash home. The behavior is automatic. But there is another layer that makes this system resilient: social observation. In Japan, public behavior is heavily influenced by what others are doing. When someone walks down a clean street in Tokyo, they receive constant visual feedback. Everyone around them is carrying their trash. No one is dropping wrappers. The clean environment itself becomes a signal about what is normal. Psychologists call this descriptive norms. People tend to do what they observe others doing, especially when the behavior is nearly universal. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle. Clean streets signal that people here do not litter. New people entering the environment, whether children or foreign visitors, observe this norm and adjust their behavior to match. The few who do litter stand out sharply against the clean background, which makes the violation more visible and socially uncomfortable. The environment itself teaches behavior without a single rule being stated. Compare this to an environment where litter is common. A person walking down a street covered in trash receives a different signal. The environment communicates that littering is normal here. Adding one more wrapper to the pile feels insignificant. The social norm supports the behavior rather than discouraging it. This is why cleaning up a littered area often reduces new littering. The environment was sending the wrong signal. Japan reinforced these norms through another practice that seems unrelated: community cleaning days. In many Japanese neighborhoods, residents gather several times a year to clean public spaces together. Parks, sidewalks, riversides. This is voluntary but widely practiced. The purpose is not just to remove trash. The purpose is to maintain the shared understanding that public spaces belong to everyone and are therefore everyone's responsibility. When neighbors clean a park together, they are not just picking up litter. They are participating in a ritual that reinforces collective ownership. The park is not government property maintained by workers. It is shared space maintained by the people who use it. This same logic appears in Japanese apartment buildings, where residents take turns cleaning common areas. The stairwell, the entrance, the hallway. These spaces belong to everyone, so everyone maintains them. The practical result is visible. Trash does not accumulate because people do not create it in the first place. The real solution to litter is not better cleanup. It is less trash being dropped. This requires changing the moment of decision. When someone finishes a drink and holds an empty bottle, what do they do? In Japan, they have been trained for 12 years to take responsibility for their waste. They carry it. The absence of a bin is not permission to litter. It is simply a logistical detail to navigate. This system has weaknesses. It relies on cultural continuity. Children must go through the same education. New generations must internalize the same practices. If schools stop requiring students to clean, the system would gradually erode. It also struggles with outsiders who are not raised in this system. Foreign visitors to Japan sometimes litter despite the clean environment because they lack the internalized behavior. But the environment is so clean and the social norms so strong that most visitors adjust their behavior quickly. The system is robust enough to absorb exceptions. The lesson here is not that every country should copy Japan's exact practices. The lesson is about how behavior changes. Rules create compliance through threat of punishment. But compliance is fragile. It lasts only as long as enforcement is present. When enforcement is weak or absent, compliance collapses. Japan chose a different path. Instead of relying on external enforcement, they built internal habits through repetition and social norms. They made cleaning a normal part of daily life rather than someone else's job. This approach takes longer. You cannot change behavior overnight with a new law. You must start with children and wait years for results. But the results are stable. A person who has cleaned their classroom every day for 12 years does not need a police officer watching to prevent littering. The behavior is internalized. It happens automatically, without thought or effort. The same principle applies beyond cleanliness. Any behavior you want to establish must move from external enforcement to internal habit. Rules can initiate change, but they cannot sustain it. Sustained change requires repetition until behavior becomes automatic. It requires social environments where the desired behavior is visibly normal. It requires personal responsibility rather than outsourced maintenance. You cannot copy Japan's culture. Culture is built over generations. But you can copy the principles. If you want a clean home, do not rely solely on occasional deep cleaning. Build daily habits of maintaining order. If you share space with others, distribute responsibility rather than assigning it to one person. If you want to change your own behavior, repeat the new action daily until it becomes automatic. Structure your environment so the desired behavior is easier than the alternative. The streets of Tokyo stay clean not because Japanese people are inherently different. They stay clean because the system was designed to create specific behaviors through education, social norms, and distributed responsibility. Rules exist, but they are secondary. The primary mechanism is habit, built through years of practice and reinforced by constant social feedback. That spotless street in Tokyo at 7 a.m. is not the result of strict laws. It is the result of a 12-year-old who just finished sweeping their classroom, now walking to school carrying yesterday's snack wrapper in their bag because there is no bin nearby and taking trash home is what people do. That student did not read a rule. They learned through action, repeated daily, until responsibility became automatic. This is how behavior actually changes. Not through threats, but through practice. Not through enforcement, but through habit. Not through someone else's job, but through everyone's participation. Thank you for watching.